All right, folks, we're going to get started. I've been working in youth and children's ministry a long time, so you will not throw me off if you get up and wander around, okay? And if you want to get more food, or you got to run to the bathroom, or if we're working along and you realize, oh, I got to get home because the milk is still on the table, whatever, you will not insult me. I want you to feel comfortable to move about, or if you have to leave for any reason, I will not take it personally, okay? All right? So, just going to get started. My name is Jeff, and the last name is Rabe, like broccoli Rob. I currently am the Director of Christian Education for Children and Youth. I know I have the longest title at the church. At First Congregational Church. If you've ever been near Camp Randall, we're the church across the street. It's the big red God box next to Camp Randall. And so I've been serving there for about 22 years. And was at a small town church in Kiel, Wisconsin. Anybody heard of Kiel before? Oh, look at that. All roads lead to Kiel. Was there for about 11 years. So I've been in the children and youth ministry for about 30 some years. And about 20 years ago, started working with the OWL program. It's Our Whole Lives, and I'm going to be selling that today a little bit. I know the United Methodist Church has a, Mike, what is it called again? The Sexuality education program. He's chewing now. Sorry.
We actually, in Wisconsin, we did approve AL to be used for us here. And I actually went through training to be a facilitator for K through 6.
Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about OWL. And with that, so I want to welcome you. A couple disclaimers I just talked about. If you got to get up and move, that's fine. This program runs about an hour and a half, and I'm trying to shorten it down because I know you've got places to go. So, but if I see you glazing over, we'll finish up, okay? Expectations, I want you to be able to feel comfortable saying whatever you want to say. I want you to feel comfortable in this environment to ask anything you want to ask. And with that, I give you license to feel uncomfortable. I give you license to feel confused. I give you license to feel a little icky about any subject, okay? Because how you feel is how you feel. And the whole point of this workshop is to come to terms with how we're feeling about something. Why does that make me uncomfortable? How can I make some adjustments to be a more welcoming individual and a welcoming congregation? So that's why we're here. So I give you license to feel whatever you are feeling, okay? I don't give you license to lash out at somebody, but I give you the license to feel however you feel. And I'm going to let you know that because we're talking about sexuality education, we are going to use some words like penis and labia and things like that. So I'm just warning you ahead of time. And these are words that we use in our K1 OWL class. So just letting you know, and I see some young kids here. Don't worry, I won't go too far, but I just want you to be warned of that, okay? So, you know what, there's no warning, they're body parts. We're just talking about body parts here, okay? And so, we're gonna start this program with you grabbing a piece of paper and a pencil. Everybody has to do this. This is an assignment, and everybody has to do it. I'm bigger than all of you, okay? And I want you to write down 3 things that would answer this question. I am a blank. Excuse me, the statement. I am a blank. And I've got some categories here: religion, nationality, occupation, sports team, family, hobby. Pick from, I need 3 from 3 different categories. 1 from each of those, 3 different categories. I am a, like for example, myself, I am a proud Wisconsinite. You can tell by my thick Wisconsin accent. I am a cheese lover, as you can tell. And let's see, and I am an avid fan of Les Mis. If it's in town, I'm going to see it, I'm going to cry through it, okay? So, those are 3 things that I identify as. I'm a Les Mis fan, I'm a cheese lover, I'm a Wisconsinite, okay? So take 3 minutes to write down 3 things that you identify as.
You're living in do it.
Boys, look at that, that's beautiful. Sunrise, I like that. Did a great job with that. Mm-hmm. Those are all the colors of the rainbow, right? That is beautiful. The sun. Great job. We've got to have all the colors, right? Okay. Well, thank you so much for sharing. Thank you. All right, that was our segue. Okay. Moving on. All right. I'm giving you the word sexuality, and I want you to be honest with me. What are the first words that come to your mind? Raise your hand so we're not just shouting across the room. Okay, what's the first words that come to mind? Hazel over here?
Female.
Female, okay. Any other words?
Feelings.
Feelings, okay.
Personality.
Helmut?
Personality.
Personality, okay.
Attraction.
Attraction. Any others?
Intimacy.
Intimacy, okay. All right, any others? Gender, okay. That's something we need to stress is sexuality is this huge word. It's a huge word. It's a really wide word that means a lot of different things. And in a lot of cases, when you put that word up there, the first thing people think about is intercourse, okay? And so what we're trying to do with this program, and I'm hoping you better understand, sexuality is a wide term that means a lot of different things. And that's what we're going to be talking about today, the wide areas. And then we're going to eventually focus back to gender itself, okay? So, I feel like I'm standing in front of something. Just a little bit. So we're moving on. Okay, this is our program. I'll do just a quick sell about this. It's called Our Whole Lives. You have somebody who's a facilitator in it. It's a sexuality education program, and it's a sexuality education program. I never said sex ed, I said sexuality education program. It's beyond sex ed that you may have had in school, if you had sex ed in school. So it's a comprehensive program. The values are self-worth, sexual health, responsibility, justice, and inclusivity. I'm moving through this part quickly because you have somebody. Circles of sexuality. I'm going to send Mike handouts on when it's online stuff. So I'll send that to Mike, and he can send it to anybody who wants. This will be on there just to show you the wide array of areas that are covered in the OWL program. And just letting you know, these are all the programs, the curriculum that they have for OWL. They have K2, 4 through 6, 7 through 9 grades, 10 and 12, young adults, adults, and a new one, older adults. Because older adults are, because of longer lives and medications, older folks are being sexually active later into their lives. And because things are changing so much, the program put together an older adults sexuality education program. I have all the books over here if you're interested. I'm going to warn you, some of these are, the second edition are coming out, or excuse me, the third edition is coming out this month, and I have to update some of those, but just if you want to take a look at those. And here's my selling pitch for OWL class. I teach 8th grade confirmation, and picture it, a class of, we had 8 kids in the class that year. It was 2 8th grade girls and 6 8th grade boys. Think back to 8th grade, okay? All right? And then that one Sunday, one of the girls in the class couldn't be there, so it was one girl and 6 boys sitting around a table, and we were covering Leviticus because I think Leviticus is important. And we were covering laws and bodily excretions and stuff like that, and why the rules were there and things like that. And I make sure I cover nocturnal emissions as well as menstruation. So everybody is a little confused and feels uncomfortable. But we were covering how long a woman is unclean in the Bible through menstruation, and it's like 7 days, and the young girl said, wait, a whole week? She said, it usually only takes a day or 2. And I said, well, maybe they're trying to cover everybody, I don't know. And then I realized that this young girl by herself in a group of, and I was there, so it was the rest of the group had penises, but she was the only one menstruating in the room, and she just declared that her periods last 2 days-ish, okay? And that struck me like, wow, that she would be comfortable saying that. And then I remember to my 8th grade days, and what I would have done, and my friends in 8th grade boys would have responded to that. And then I realized that there was not a peep, not a groan, not a moan, not an ew from the 6th, 8th grade boys sitting there. And then I looked around the room and I realized that these kids had just finished a 7th and 8th grade owl class, and we covered that intently. And I thought, these boys, should they be straight and have a female partner, they're going to be great partners because they're going to better understand what this is about, okay? This is why I push owl, because it's way beyond intercourse, all right? It's understanding. So, and it goes much deeper into that, but that's myself for owl class. If you'd like to do more owl, please tell Mike and he can talk to me. Okay. All right, we're moving on. So just some definitions, okay? So we have sexuality, and the 3 parts we're going to cover today are biological sex, gender, and sexual orientation, all right? So moving on, biological sex are organs, chromosomes, and hormones. So I should back up. Now, these are 3 different parts of sexuality. If I am talking about sexual orientation, I'm talking about sexuality, but I'm not talking about biological sex or gender. Sort of like the Trinity. You know, you're talking about one, but you're not, and they're all a part of the same, but you're talking about different ones, okay? So, and I bring this up because a lot of people are confused and they lump them all together, all right? So biological sex, this is what we're talking about, plumbing, genes, and juices, all right? Organs, chromosomes, and hormones. So biological sex is what happens biologically when a person is developed and born, and it's female, male, intersex, all right? The biological sex, we've got that. That's one thing. Biological sex is one thing. And it's what parts a person is born with, what hormones and the chromosomes, how they all make up the biological sex. This is not gender, folks. This is not gender. This is biological sex, because they can be different things and often are. All right, moving on to gender is how a person identifies. So back here we had, you're born with a penis, you're a biological, and have the XY chromosome and the hormones, testosterone, and all those things happening. Biologically, you're a male. I'm making generalizations here, but bear with me, okay? You're biologically a male, but that doesn't make your gender a male, okay? Gender is how a person identifies. And here are some terms I want you to look at. Cis, C-I-S, it's from the Latin cis, on this side, same side. So I happen to be a biological male, I was born a male, and I identify as a male, so I am a cis male. Does that make sense? Meaning I'm on the same side as the biological sex. If I were on the other side, if we go to trans, from the Latin word trans, meaning across, over, or beyond, it means if I were born a biological male, but I identify as a woman, so I would be trans because it's on the other side. The cis thing throws a lot of straight people off because they've never had to think about it, okay? And I don't mean to insult anybody. Remember back when I said you could feel uncomfortable and confused? Okay, this confuses a lot of people. All right, so same side is cis, opposite side or across would be trans, and binary comes from the word two, where other words like bicycle, there's other bywords, means two, and that goes back to the idea that there are 2 genders, male and female. And the non-binary is somebody who identifies as neither of those and says, I am non-binary. You can't put me in one category or the other. That's where the term non-binary that two thing, male, female thing doesn't work for me. So I can't identify as one or the other. That's where non-binary comes in. All right, and I'm going to stress to you that we're just covering the surface. This is called the introduction, okay? It goes much deeper into different genders and identities. Right now, to help us focus, we're just going across the top. So non-binary means I don't identify with the male or the female, the binary. Does that make sense? Yeah. All right. So what I want you to do right now, orientation, excuse me. Who you are physically, spiritually, and emotionally attracted to based on their sex, gender, in relation to your own. This we have pretty down in our society. Hetero means same, homosexual means opposite, and bisexual means same in others. Okay, you notice I didn't put bisexual both. I said bisexual same and others. And it was one of my own trans kids at my church who corrected me on that. And I thank them for that. So heterosexual means same, homosexual means other, bisexual means same and others. All right, so going back, we just did a quick run through those. Biological sex, gender, sexual orientation. Just did a quick run through that, okay? And I'm gonna say, if you have questions, write them down, because chances are we're probably gonna cover them today. And if I had to stop and answer every question, which I love when people ask questions, we'll be here till Johnny Carson tonight. But, okay, so we've got those three: biological sex, gender, sexual orientation. Now I want you to go around your table and introduce yourself. Hello, my name is, what is my name? I am my biological sex, my gender, my orientation, and my favorite ice cream, okay? So I would be, hello, my name is Jeff. I am a cis male. I was born biologically male and I identify as a male. My gender would be cis male. My orientation is homosexual. And my favorite ice cream is vanilla. All right? So take some time and introduce yourself around the table. Everybody has to do this. Everybody has to do this. And I need all four of those categories. Okay? I'll go around the room and see if you need any help with anything. So start introducing. Hello, my name is. I want to hear, hello, my name is, right now. Somebody start.
Hello, my name is.
Okay. Sure, you go first.
Ladies first.
Sure.
I can go first.
Okay.
My name's Todd. I'm a male.
You have to say cis male or
That's
That's right. That's how we learn. So,
I'm going by biological.
right, biologically I was born,
Oh, biological, I was born a male.
right, and you identify
I
as,
identify as a cis male.
right,
I'm heterosexual.
and the most important one.
My favorite ice cream is cookie dough.
Oh, very nice.
Much better than now.
All right, we'll fight about it later. All right, great, that's exactly right. Go around the room and share.
and I am biological female, and my gender is cis female. My orientation is heterosexual, and my favorite ice cream is mint.
I'm Robin. I'm biologically female.
Anything with caramel.
Oh, yeah.
You didn't cover that. That basically means when you're. No, I'm asexual. So that's whenever you don't identify with any attraction. So that doesn't mean anything about behavior.
Heterosexual.
But it means that I don't.
Favorite ice cream is breast out.
That's how I look at ice cream,
Well,
but I
that
go
bumps it
cookies
up.
and cream.
You didn't think about that, did you? Grasshopper.
Mike.
Mike, born a male, cis male, heterosexual.
Whether you're attracted. Okay. So
Yeah. No, but that doesn't mean that you can't have sex. Yeah. Because there are some homosexual people that have had sex.
We want to go where there's just a little bit more diversity.
So that's where that's where it comes in. Is your mind thing versus
You can't do with Oreo crust.
most of the time, yes. Explaining your sexuality.
Oh, right. Yeah, but that's one of those, we'll get into that in a little bit.
This feels a new term.
It's a fun one.
I never heard of it.
I didn't either. But see, this is my first thing. So I was teaching about this.
All right. And now let's hear some honest answers. How many of you found that a little confusing? Okay. All right. How many of you found that a little uncomfortable? Okay, because you weren't sure, you were struggling. Okay. All right. And there's a reason I threw that at you. Okay, because think of somebody who happens to be trans and having to do that with every single interaction that they have.
Amen.
Okay? That's exactly why I did it the way I did. So you were forced into it, and somebody's confused and doesn't know what you are, and they may demand it of you, or they're not sure, or you want to just clarify because you see the confused looks on people's faces. All right? This program is to help you better identify with people who don't fit into those norms that we've established over the years. Okay, great work, though, everybody. Great work. All right, so for now, we're going to focus a little bit on gender, and we're going to break gender down into some categories as well. We have gender identity, gender expression, and gender roles. All right, moving on. Gender identity is how someone sees themselves. This is how I see me. Gender identity is this is how I see me. Okay? And so woman, queer, gender queer, or non-binary, or man. That's my gender. That's how I see myself. Gender expression is the cues I give out to the world to help them better understand how I identify myself. What are some gender cues that we may throw out to the world to help the world better understand where we stand, if we want to do that?
Attire.
Attire? Okay, give me an example.
Whether you choose to wear dresses or pants.
Okay, whether you choose to wear dresses or pants, I'm just repeating. Okay, so what you wear is sort of an indicator of how you identify. Others? Makeup, okay. What you make? I'm sorry?
A beard?
A beard, right?
Hairstyle.
Hairstyle, okay.
Fingernail polish.
Fingernail polish. Others?
Shoes.
Shoes?
That could go either way.
Okay. So we've got to, you guys have an idea of where people stand. You can look at them and you know exactly who they identify as by their clothes and their fingernail polish and the makeup and their hair, right? You've got it all figured out? No. That's what makes it so confusing. The thing is, let's go back a few decades, and it was a lot easier. We're going to talk about that, okay? So, gender expression is how I express to the world. So we have feminine, androgynous, which throws off some people thinking David Bowie. Does that help anybody?
Boy George.
Boy George, okay? Androgynous means I'm not picking either side, I'm going to wear whatever I want, okay? And so we have feminine, androgynous, masculine, and gender roles with an asterisk because it's becoming obsolete. Woo! Okay? When I started doing the OWL program, gender roles was included in the curriculum. And when they updated, which they do every few years, they updated. There was nothing in this about gender roles. I failed to mention several parts of this program I've taken from the senior adults curriculum. Just letting you know, okay? So first time I did it, I did not include gender roles. And I had a very nice woman come up to me and she was confused. She said, I think I'm a lesbian. And I know she was married to a man for a long time and had 2 daughters, which means nothing about her orientation. But she said, I'll cook for my kids, but I don't really like it. I never really liked housekeeping. She was a woman who was in academia, And she's got to be 80 years old. She spent her whole life in a man's world. Okay? And she's thinking, am I a lesbian because of that? And that's when I realized I got to put gender roles back into this if I'm going to be talking to adults. So gender roles are cultural expectations. This is what you should be doing. I just have a couple examples. We have dolls and nurses and teachers for girls with the pink. And with blue, we have boys who should have trucks and should be doctors and firemen. Okay? That's gender roles. And our kids today don't even think about that. When you ask for a doctor, they aren't going to give you a male because that's what doctors are. And it's a wonderful thing. So just something to think about. So are we understanding the different parts of gender? Gender identity, gender expression, and gender roles. And I know for some of you, yeah, this is old hat. But for some in the room, this is new stuff. So bear with me. Okay, so we're going to play a little sexuality bingo. And I have my 2 Vanna Whites here.
Oh, really?
Okay.
Oh, they're excellent Vanna Whites.
Every table will get a game. Okay, every table.
Come over, Rob.
Robin, would you join them?
They didn't tell us what to do yet.
So every table will get
Where was the
Instructions.
a game board, and you get a whole bunch of pieces.
Go ahead, Scott.
And I need you to put the pieces in the right categories.
Okay.
Oh, wonderful.
That's what I need you to do.
Can you get it in the middle?
Thank you.
Oh, thank
I'm
you.
gonna try. Trying to keep it dirty. Okay, so that's the piece.
These are
That's the
very
pieces.
Do you want to just like,
Put the board. Can you guys see all the pieces as I put them out?
And this is a group project. Don't let one person do it all by themselves, okay? I know the answers. No, we're working on this together.
I'll just try to spread
So
them.
we have to decide,
Then we can go through them one by one.
we have to do gender identity, biological sex.
Well, we can put the estrogen next to the testosterone. And
Where would these
hormones.
words belong?
Well, chromosomes are different than hormones.
Kind of.
There's a blank.
Yeah. I know, it's grouping things. Because there's a lot. Yeah.
Okay,
You can just set them into the onto the game board.
okay, so where do you think?
Accidentally.
Heart races around an attractive woman. Is it biological sex, gender identity, gender expression, or sexual orientation?
Run that by me again.
Heart races around an attractive woman.
Okay.
That's gotta be number one. I think biological sex.
Yeah.
Do with the body, that hormones. Well, I'm also background.
No, I agree.
See, I'm thinking sexual orientation. Let's see, okay, we can switch.
So what do you?
Because like you're attracted to that.
That's orientation.
Okay, well, we gotta keep on going.
That's after the fact, right?
Androgynous clothing, that what you said, that's male female, kind of like eyebrows. Androgynous clothing.
Expression?
Yeah, that would be orientation.
Well, I think it's expression. Like he said, because remember, it was showing.
We're gonna get them all wrong.
Oh, well.
This is the Bible.
I'm just watching.
I think it could
Performs
be
in
both.
drag.
There's some people that feel butch, but there's others that present as butch. It's same as like, yeah, because drag does not have to be gender identity. Same with long painted fingernails. There's a male developer on my team that painted his all black, and I'm like, why did you do that? I don't
All the biological, like this is good one, this is a good one.
Well, what's interesting for me is
Here's
that
all
hormones
biological.
are something that people sometimes will, take hormones of a different
Good,
biological sex.
process of elimination.
So sometimes that is,
This is not a competition. There's no carve to win or anything.
Oh, darn.
Come on.
How much money?
Why not even show up here?
This bra and dress, that would be the expression, right? Or identity.
identity.
The bar and dress.
Yeah, because here's an example. Remember Flinger from MASH?
Right.
He was a good man, but he tried to identify as a woman.
Isn't he expressing that too?
But that could also
Yeah.
be
This is
if
really
you've taken
close.
hormones
But
that lower your
Flinger
voice.
was a
There's
good
actually a
example.
speech clinic at
Well,
UW.
Klinger was trying to get out of the war.
Yeah.
Helps people
Right,
to
but
modulate their voices.
he
It's something that a
tried
lot
to
of
change
times
his
when
image.
taking
So.
estrogen.
Right. Okay. I love how you're discussing things.
So a lot
This is
of
exactly
people
what this is
speaking
for.
it for registered.
He's the first one I thought of as Klinger.
Whereas for people that take
Okay.
testosterone, their voice will go down.
So this expression and identity is really hard. To me, wearing this is
There are some
expressive.
trans people
It's
that,
like
you
wearing
know, if
pink
they're taking
clothing, you're
testosterone,
expressing.
like
Yeah.
those things
We talked about hairstyle, wasn't that all
that they,
expression? Yeah,
depending
I
on the
think so.
voice strain and the spreading, maybe they want to transition their voices.
I think these are really
The
close.
sound of their
Long painted fingernails, once again, I think that's an expression.
Yeah.
You? What else? Attract, butch, you know, like would be.
Like Freddie Mercury for Queen.
I sang the octave form. He went, I'll be
That would be.
I think so too. I think definitely. Feels like a woman, your identity feels like a
There's a
woman.
lot of voice teachers that are used to doing
That's how you feel, that's how
your
you
voice is
identify.
able to stretch over different parts of your life anyway.
Hormones would be over
So
here.
there's more voice teachers that are able to do that kind of thing.
Run on his face.
I know there's a lot of attracted to.
Well, what's also interesting is there's a
Sexual
lot of
orientation.
vocal cues that people associate with men and associate with women. A lot
Yeah,
of times,
would be in that
men will
last
speak
one.
in a very flat. Women will have more modulation in their voice. So people are trying to transition so
Attracted to all
that on the phone you can't tell.
Yeah, it's all
Yeah,
They sometimes they're trying to train themselves
the rhythm they speak in that.
beard and mustache,
Exactly.
that's an expression.
Exactly.
Does not identify as any gender, this would be here, right? Like there's a difference. Gender identity.
Exactly.
And a butch, that's your expression, that's how you move around, like a butch.
Yeah.
Speaks with a lower voice.
Yeah, my son, takes testosterone. Loud voice, low voice. Yeah, he's trained.
It's a whole nother dimension.
He was raised as a girl, and then he chose to be.
Yeah. The 40 chesties starts with it.
I don't know.
Because I fall into the romantic
I
side.
don't know how much you
Because
guys know
in
about
addition to
Freddie
not
Mercury. Freddie Mercury, if you read his bio, he was straight.
you know, I don't understand online
married,
dating. I don't see the.
he was divorced,
I don't understand how
he
people can
became
look at a
bi,
picture of a person
between the
and
time
want to go on a
that
date.
he started music and he died, he was several, so I don't think there's a set.
Exactly.
It depends on the person and the situation.
What is your name, by the way?
Scott.
Scott, okay, I keep calling you you. That's right. Because it's going to come back later. Okay, you are exactly right. Who are we talking about, by the way?
Freddie Mercury.
Freddie Mercury. Oh my God, what a voice. Okay, we're going to get to that. We're going to get to that exact same thing. Okay.
So what I know of Freddie is he was married, or he dated someone, he broke up, okay? He became bi for a while, and then he went back to it, between the time that he died of AIDS.
Right.
So that's
Well, that doesn't. Right.
But that's an example of just because someone is set to one thing doesn't mean it won't change.
Right. And wait till we get to that. I'm going to watch your face go boom.
You know, you're trying to shoot down this 50 years of marriage thing.
All right. Great work, everybody. Some of the tables were boom, 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 and slapping them down. Others were having great discussions. Great discussion over here with young people about the low voice. I'll admit, I put it under gender. Who was it that talked about biological sex? Okay. Timmy, hadn't even occurred to me that biological testosterone lowers the voice. So, did you figure out that not all the things fit in all the same categories, and did you have to debate a little bit amongst your group? Exactly. Wow, Jeff, you're a genius.
That's exactly what we said.
That's exactly what you said. Right, and I saw some really great conversations sparking out of that. So I thank you, for those of you who got it, boom, right away. I appreciate your patience as other teams were starting to sort of figuring things out. So there was a question over here about Freddie Mercury and how he changed, okay? We're gonna talk about this word right here, fluidity, okay? This is a concept that really throws, and I'm not being ageist here, anybody over, let's see, I'm 60, so anybody over 60, you know, it really starts throwing people this fluidity thing. If you see the word fluidity, what comes to mind? Raise your hand, please.
Water.
Water, okay. Why water?
Because it floats.
Because it's, okay. So something that like concrete would not be fluid. Well, after it sets, it's not concrete, right? There's some smart Alex in here. Okay. What do you do for a living, Nikki?
I'm a lawyer.
How did I not know that? And God bless you, we need lawyers. Okay? So we're going to talk a little bit about fluidity. Before I turn this, let me catch up. Come on, Jeff, everybody's looking at you now.
You're doing so good.
I was. So well. All right, and you'll see why I had to do this. Okay, fluidity. So what I want to talk about is, Freddie Mercury brought that up, how things are changing now because the solid concrete of the past 40-ish years, 50-ish years is starting to erode and things are becoming more flexible. So I have a picture here, right, the fluidity. Okay, we're going to talk about gender roles and fluidity. Okay, anybody here a farmer? Anybody here a farmer?
Used to be.
Anybody used to be? What kind of farm?
Livestock and wheat.
Livestock and wheat, okay? I'm going to come back to you. Okay, so I grew up on a dairy farm, so I have shoveled more manure and milked more cows than you can imagine, okay? So anybody related to somebody who's connected with farming? Okay? Anybody know anybody who's connected to farming? All right, so everybody just raise your hand because you're all connected to farmers, all right? So I bring this subject up about fluidity of gender roles. All right, back in the mid-1800s, do you know what Wisconsin was known for?
Breadbasket, or growing wheat and stuff.
What's your name again?
Timmy.
Timmy, ding. If I had a bell, I would ring it right now. Ding, ding, ding. Timmy, great, exact answer. Nobody in all my workshops has known that. So ding, 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 you get a gold star. All right? All right, I studied history and I love Wisconsin. Remember I said that before? Okay, so Wisconsin was known as the breadbasket. Why, can you tell me why, Timmy?
They grew lots of wheat and distributed it.
Exactly right, because Wisconsin was one of the biggest producers of wheat in what was the country at that time. Wheat was coming out of Wisconsin like mad, okay? And then what happens when you grow the same crop over and over and over and over again, Timmy?
Eventually the crop can't grow since it's sucked up all the nutrients it needs.
Ground gets worn out.
Exactly. We have a wheat farmer over here. The ground gets worn out, and wheat was starting to, and the railroads came, and a whole bunch of different markets opened up, and the people in Madison, the educators, said we got to find a different way to support our farmers. So they introduced something called
Soybeans.
See, I never have these conversations when I'm in Madison. So nobody's related to anybody with a farmer, but all this stuff starts coming out, right? Because alfalfa is a legume and it brings nitrogen back to the soil. So at Mr. Horde and all the agriculture, which is literally across the street from the church I work on, which is really cool, okay? They started saying, we need to grow alfalfa to get nitrogen back into the soil. And who loves alfalfa? Cows, okay? And we have plenty of water in Wisconsin. And who loves water? Cows, which I will never understand why California is raising cows, dairy cows. Don't get me started, okay? Talking to a son of a dairy farmer here. Okay, but you know what the problem was with dairy cows in Wisconsin? That's women's work. That's woman's work. Because the men were out in the field, you know, taking care of the wheat and stuff. The girl in the house, the Frau, she was the one who took care of the cow. That's woman's work. All right? So in order to switch over to a new industry, they had to retrain a whole bunch of men and get him in this is the late 1800s, and get men to realize that this is man's work. You can do this. All right? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So here we have a gender role fluidity thing where men had to relearn an industry because they wouldn't do it because that's woman's work. All right? There's an example of fluidity in gender roles. And that's happening really big right now, but as a Wisconsinite, this is huge. All right. So gender expression, how people identify themselves. Now I'm going to show you a picture of the most powerful man in 1700 in the Western world. The most powerful man, the strongest feared man in the Western world. All right, are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, can everybody see that? What do you notice about this guy? The most powerful man in the Western world was King Louis.
He's in heels.
He's in heels.
And a wig.
And a wig and makeup.
And look at those legs.
And look at those legs.
And look at the pose.
Right. And if you look, he's in pretty high heels. And he's wearing high heels because you know what was the sexiest part of a man's body at this time? The calf. So if you could elevate your heel a little bit,
He has a very well-turned calf.
yes, it would pop up your calf, and so other men would fight. They would mortgage their homes to be like this guy. All right. There's a little story about this guy I discovered recently. He had and I don't mean to upset any of the kids. He had a fissure in a very delicate spot in his undergrowth, okay, if you will. It was right next to his anus, and it was a festering like pimple that kept growing and growing, and it was pretty nasty. And a special doctor created a tool to lance it, okay? And first of all, used it on prisoners to see if it would work. I'm crazy. But, so he had this procedure done, and after that, other men called their doctors and said, I have to have that done too. And some doctors would do it, but other doctors, no, you don't need that. But just to give you an example of the power of gender expression here. All right? Just look at that. All right? Something to think about. This was 1700. All right. Just some rules. Here we go. In 1918, I got this from an advertisement. In the New York City-based sales catalog, Earnshaw's claim, generally accepted rule is pink is for boys and blue is for girls. The reason is that pink, being a more decided and stronger color, is more suitable for the boy, while blue, which is more delicate and dainty, is prettier for a girl. This is just 100 years ago. Okay? Just 100 years ago. Are you starting to understand the fluidity thing? Okay. here's an example, here's a picture of somebody everybody should know. Okay, everybody should know, you have to know who this is.
Roosevelt?
Okay. 1860, this is Teddy Roosevelt.
Oh, good job, Robert.
Teddy Roosevelt.
I was
Let's go back
thinking of
to,
FDR though.
let's go back
No
to-
Roosevelt.
let's go back to Teddy Roosevelt
Wow.
as a toddler. Okay? This was a normal picture of boys and girls because we didn't gender our babies, especially babies and toddlers.
They died.
Well, because they die, I like this. Well, the infant mortality rate was much higher back then. But any other ideas why? Well, first of all, because it wasn't in their head that we have to gender our babies. But if you look, it's white and it's a dress. Imagine if you want to change diapers, how easy a dress would be. You throw the kid down, you flip up the thing, you can change the diaper, and it's white because this is before fabrics were set with their color. You could bleach this, you could get it clean again. Boom, 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 boom. So makes the life a whole lot easier than unbuttoning or pulling down pants and doing all that stuff. So, yes.
And hand-me-downs.
And hand-me-downs. Well, I doubt that Teddy Roosevelt ever wore a hand-me-down, but you're exactly right. I'm going back to, we grew up right next to an 80-acre lake, and so we always had a big barrel of ice skates in the basement. And I had an older brother and an older sister, okay? So there were white skates and there were black skates in there. And whatever size fit you at the time is this, and I used to bring them to school because there was an ice skating rink at the middle school, and I didn't care. I got some slack because of it, but who cares, all right? And well, wasn't in the 1800s when I was in school.
Are you sure?
Sometimes when you get out of bed in the morning. Anyway, so Teddy Roosevelt, I want you to understand fluidity, okay? Sexual orientation fluidity. Just a quick thing on this, I saw, it was a TikTok thing, and they were interviewing high schoolers. And they look like freshman, sophomore age, kind of that. And they were saying on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being straight, 5 being gay, where do you stand? Okay? And some were I'm 1, and some were 5. When I was in school, you wouldn't even think about saying 5 without getting a lot of hassle. Okay, I mean, you wouldn't even consider, I'm straight, which I was in high school, very straight, okay? But there was one guy who said, maybe a 2.5, and the guy looked at him, he said, and why is that? And he said, Ryan Reynolds. Okay? So what I'm trying to get across to you is young people are seeing the world in a different way. Those rigid gender roles are breaking down because young people see the world differently. And if you want to work with young people, and you're going to have to come to terms with that because it's just the way it is. I have 5 trans kids at my church, and beyond the young adults, I even lost track with that, and some gay kids. I don't care, and they don't care. But we'll talk about pronouns in just a little bit. But are we understanding fluidity?
Yeah.
And you're going to have to loosen up if you want to connect with young people. All right. So here we have. Where are you? So the whole fluidity thing means that everything is on a scale, a moving scale. Okay? When we grew up, it was one or the other. What is that called? One or the other? Binary. Oh, look at you. Learning and learning. Ding, ding, ding for all of you. Okay? We're learning that binary is for some people, that's where they're at. But for other people, we're on a continuum or a spectrum. So I'm going to have our Vanna Whites pass these out. I'm going to ask you to pass out too. Everybody,
First pass stage act.
Everybody gets one?
everybody gets one. I hope I have
I'll
enough.
go to the back.
Where's Pat Sajak?
He's on vacation.
He's on vacation.
And there's 5.
I think he's
So
retired.
what you get is, on one side, it's called a genderbread person. I didn't come up with that, but it's a great idea. It gives you identity, attraction, expression, sex. Okay, we've talked about those things. I can bring back the thing up again. But I want you to now go through, now that you know each other a little better around your table, I want you to share with the group, if you're comfortable, where are you on that spectrum of each of those things? I'll go first myself. Biological sex, I'm a male, that's where I'm at. Gender identity, yeah, I guess I'm close to the man, but I'm not afraid of gender expression. Yeah, so I might be somewhere between non-binary and male and man with gender gender identity and gender expression. I tend to find these clothes more comfortable for myself, so I guess I express as a more masculine man. Sexual orientation, I am way over on the homosexuality side. Sorry, ladies. If I were a 1 being straight and 5 being gay, I would be about a 7. So, okay. So, but that's where I'm at. So I want you to write your name down, think about it, and maybe put a mark on the continuum where you think you stand. And if you're comfortable, I ask you to share this around the room. All right, around your table. Spend a little time talking about them. Give you a little bit of time.
I just, or, yeah, you could make marks, I guess, like you said.
Happy face or?
And wherever you are on your spectrum is where you are. So I don't want anybody, if you're all on one side or the other, that's where you're at, okay? And we love you the way you are.
Amen.
Okay, I can start.
Go, that'd be great.
Okay. Biological, I am a male. There's gender identity, I am a man. Sexual orientation, I am heterosexual. But gender expression, I am right in the middle. I can do female stuff, I identify with doing female stuff and male. Well, like, I guess I sew.
Wearing pants isn't an issue, but then wearing a skirt is.
Scrapbooking, a lot of I like to read as well. But all the other stuff.
Because I wanted you to understand you can be anywhere on the spectrum, and if you're way over there, that's right. Where are you on the spectrum? Annie can be way over here, way over here, or this one, way over here.
Thank you.
And I have not seen
I'm in the middle like you. I'm heterosexual. As I've gotten older, my sexual preferences have changed a lot. I dated someone for 18 years, and now that I've just decided that although I want to find somebody, it's not going to be and I'm not saying that I'm eliminating something, but 18 years and going through the hassle of going through a relationship, I've decided that until I do things right, you might run out of time. I haven't seen you wear a uniform. For example, everything has to be what you want to do.
That's a whole personal, that's different than what we're discussing.
I'm sorry.
No, wait, I'm not saying this, it's wrong, it's just that that's a relationship thing.
Right. No.
I'm saying all the way with that.
No, what I'm saying is if we're talking about your preferences,
Yeah.
okay, that's my point, is that these change as you get older. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay? And with me, it's changed quite a bit from 30 years ago.
Oh, yeah, right.
Is it comfortable?
Yeah, female, woman, gender expression, I'm totally proud here. I really do feel I'm.
Part of it is it's so much harder to
I like to fix things, I like to fix houses.
Exactly, so if there's a way
I've done it a
that
lot that are male oriented.
then that's easier than people
So I
trying to
very
guess
enjoy
a
this thing.
definite.
And sexual orientation, heterosexual,
They wouldn't ask you.
but not like he said,
But
like.
part of it is a lot of
there's
times
beautiful
whenever
woman
you
up
use
there,
pronouns,
wow,
you're doing it whatever the person is
you
in
know, so,
or if you're just
you
referring
know,
to
I'm
people as a
attracted to very pretty women
So
too.
it's harder to do that.
This is gender expression. You know, I'm a guy, I understand.
But you can't use it as saying, and he's gonna get it.
See, I wish
Right.
the majority of the people are.
I don't want to fight anything else, not because I don't want to go, but I haven't traveled, I haven't gone anywhere, and I just made up my mind that
Thanks for sharing, Mike. That was hard.
something for me.
Sounds like you're figuring it out.
Thank you. It took me a long time to figure that out, but I figured is when you can't do things for you,
We'll get that in the
Right.
You don't know well as a male.
it's an uphill battle.
Right. So you, exactly, and you can understand where other people are at because you've struggled yourself.
I mean, sometimes I ask myself, why don't I find it? The question is,
Oh, yeah. Right, right.
because it wasn't two-sided.
Right. I get it. I totally
Care about each other, love each other, you know,
All right, we're gonna move on before Johnny Carson. Okay. Oh, just, okay, we'll give you one more minute. Okay. Talk amongst yourselves.
I kind of said the same things you did here.
And would you say that your experience has changed that orientation?
It's a spectrum.
It's made me prioritize me.
Okay.
Okay? And
So I'm
with my answer,
biologically female, but since I did have one of
is
her
I want to do everything for my ex.
then
The
gender
problem
identity is
is it
non-binary.
never stopped.
My expression
Okay.
changes
You
from
know what I mean?
feminine to
So now that
masculine.
I'm getting older, I decided
And then for my
until
sexual
I do those
orientation,
things that I'm
I've made
missing,
myself my own little axis for asexual because I don't fall
I'm just
anywhere on
gonna
that.
chill out. For me,
Yeah, because I think there's sometimes
I
where
know. I found out 18 years later, right?
so like
Right, so you always have to take care of yourself, you don't go to anybody else unless you take care of yourself.
Do
She
you
put me in
feel
jail.
offended by not having
And it
asexual?
was, I had to do something.
no,
to
because I
get
think it's just a whole other axis.
Well, that was your choice.
So it's
Okay, because
Exactly.
my goal is to get to
But
small
that could
town
avoid it.
churches.
I think
Because that's where the.
this is
yeah,
perfect
because
for
if I
someone
have
to
asexual on the table,
You're not alone.
that's what they'll just.
Everybody.
Exactly.
I have been education.
Genderbread isn't the perfect model of people because we're all complicated. But I think it's a
I
good
have
enough
not
start for
done
people.
on
Okay,
tonight,
I appreciate you.
All
right, we're gonna move
Set the
forward.
panel.
Thank you very much. I'm hearing such great discussions around each of the tables. Some people sharing their own personal experiences, sharing their confusion. Okay, so how did you feel about this experience? Because you're sort of guinea pigs for me. Okay, how did you feel about what we just did? Thoughts?
It's good discussion.
Okay, good discussion.
I'm glad I'm at this table.
Okay. All right.
I think if you had a bunch of people who were not comfortable with each other, it could be almost too uncomfortable to get real discussion
Okay.
and honest answers.
Thank you. Thank you.
I haven't done this in a while, and my answers changed, and that surprised me.
And as I was telling this table here, my goal is to take this this program into small town churches. Because that's where,
That's a different. That's different.
no, and I grew up in a small town, 3,000 people, but the church had 1,200 members on it, in it, but everybody went to church in my hometown. But I know that that's where we need to change some minds. Okay, that's why people are leaving. I remember back in the 90s, the tennis person Martina Navratilova. I remember hearing her interview and saying, "We have to go home. We have to go home. We can't just escape and never go back, because then nothing will change." Okay? So, all right, thank you for that. And a reminder that if you felt awkward about this, remember, somebody who doesn't fit in all those categories has to go through this every single encounter with somebody that they may, colleagues at work, different areas of like groups that they're a part of. To identify as they are, they have to explain things. This is why I'm making you explain things over and over to the other people in your group, so you get to know what it feels like. All right, moving on. Some more definitions. Gender dysphoria is a real thing. Okay, psychological, and you'll get this in the take-home notes that I'll send to Mike. Psychological distress that results from an incongruence between one's sex assigned at birth and one's gender identity through gender dysphoria. Though gender dysphoria often begins in childhood, some people may not experience it until after puberty or much later. All right, so this is a real thing, and what I hear a lot from people is, or I see in social media, is well, you know, I was a tomboy and I wore pants and I didn't like to wear the dresses, you know, I didn't turn out to be one of them. And this is way beyond being a tomboy, okay? This is the idea that when you wake up in the morning and you look in the mirror, you are so disgusted with the person that you see that you are willing to take matters into your own hands. Okay, that's gender dysphoria. It's not like, oh God, I hate dresses. It's, I hate the person that I'm looking at. That's gender dysphoria.
Can you clear that up between just your average girl who is, no, not an average girl, but two different girls. You've got a girl who is realizing she's a lesbian and a girl who is thinking that she is actually a boy. Does that make sense?
Right, okay. And remember when we went back into, and I don't mean to, I have to be careful how I say this. Being a lesbian is one thing. That's sexual orientation. Remember back to our board game? That's two different categories, okay? Being a lesbian means this is the person who I identify with, who I'm sexually attracted to, emotionally attracted to. And so if you have a cis or a biological female who feels like they are a boy, that's a whole different thing. Because one is orientation and one is gender. Is that I
have to think about it.
Okay, yeah, they're two.
Might be both.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and we in the advanced classes we'll talk about how somebody trans is a trans, born a female, becomes a male, and as a female they were attracted to men, and so they would be a heterosexual, and then as a female, as a trans female, they're still attracted to men, then they would become a homosexual. Mm-hmm. Just to throw you off, okay? And we don't get too deep into that. But Mike, you're looking to want to say something.
No, that's what I was
okay, right. And I don't want to get deep into that because that okay. Yeah. But right now we're just trying to lay the groundwork in this class, okay? But I appreciate you asking, and if you want to talk more after, I'm happy to talk more with you about that. Okay, so gender dysphoria is a real thing. You may, and this is not a hit on anybody and where they stand on the political spectrum, but you will see a lot of people on the right like laughing at this as, oh, gender dysphoria, like it's not a real thing, okay? It is a real thing. Okay, just a couple more definitions for your lexicon. Transgender, it's not transgendered. So drop the ED if you find yourself saying they're transgendered, okay? That person happens to be a transgender individual. So drop the ED. Transgenderism, which every time I hear that, it grinds my gears, because it's sort of like that person is a disease, okay? So transgenderism. Being trans is an individual thing. When we don't understand things, we start lumping people together. Say, they're all the same, those people, okay? When I go to my hometown of Kiel, and people here, I live in Madison, you can just see the things in their heads. Come on. Okay, so I usually say, I live in Middleton, which is what I'll say, I live in Middleton. And then because I don't want to have a conversation with this person. Okay, transsexual, that's obsolete, we don't use it.
I saw that this past week on a medical chart, though, transsexual is used as a medical billing code. Yes.
Some people who are of advanced age still identify as a transsexual because that used to be an accepted term back in like 70s, 80s. However, most people do not identify that way now, and it's considered obsolete.
Right.
So there's still some holdovers.
Right, but I'm saying like this is a CPT. This is the CMS.
Yeah, well, CMS is a whole bunch of other documentation that's just bullcrap. Like, to be fair, I'm dealing with a regulatory update right now for dialysis where they do not have any ability to put in fluidity or, non-binary or anything like that. So there's a lot of things in the medical world and in the governmental world where these concepts have not caught up yet.
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you, but thank you for bringing it up.
Yeah.
Okay. If you've noticed, things take time to adjust. Okay, heterosexism is the idea if you happen to be heterosexual, where you just assume that you relate everything from your lens, all right? And I'm not saying you're a horrible person. Please don't think, I have one moment, like, relax, honey. It's the prism, the world that we see through our lens. And heterosexism assumes, there's a new family moving into the neighborhood. You automatically assume that it's going to be a male and a female, a mom and a dad, okay? And again, I'm not saying you're going to go to hell. Please don't think that. You just go to a warm spot in heaven. But if we become aware of how we perceive things, we can help open up the lens, the scope of our lens, and not just assume that's the way it's going to be. So when two guys come in and you go, okay, so we need to just open up, and that takes time, folks. This takes time, okay? Transphobia makes sense. A fear, disgust of folks who are trans. And dead naming. I did not do it because I wasn't sure how many people were coming, but and this comes from the older adult curriculum, and what you do is, if you have a list of, who's coming, you will make the name tags ahead of time, and if the person is very much a Robert, you write down Bobby, okay? And you make adjustments to their name, like Maggie, I might put Margaret, okay?
I answered to that.
Okay. But when you're wearing that name tag, Margaret, you have to say, well, it says Margaret, but people call me Maggie. And so when you're doing this introduction, everybody has to sort of like make adjustments for their name tag, okay? And I thought about, I'm just gonna give everybody some random name, and I think that just ain't gonna work. But you do that, so you have to justify your name and say, but I go by Maggie. So that's dead naming, for you to help understand dead naming. When a person is trans and they choose a new name, this is my name. Dead naming meaning you constantly refer to their old name. All right, so do you understand what dead naming is now? Okay, so we've got that. Queer, the word queer. The word queer is it's still a ticking time bomb, okay? My suggestion as a queer man, I have no problem with this word because it wasn't used when I was growing up. The word fag, if you throw the word fag at me, you're gonna get a response. But that's my personal thing. Especially men older than me, the word queer you're gonna get a response, okay? Some older men have like, okay, whatever, but a lot of word was used in such a horrible way. I would suggest if you want to welcome people, you just avoid that word, okay? The word queer is like the N word in the Black community. I can use it all I want. Okay? But queer, it just basically those who don't fit the quote unquote norm. And queer it's a huge umbrella term, which is why I love it, because it fits so many people. You can just say, I'm queer, meaning, and I don't care whatever you have to figure out how I am queer. Maybe I'm gay, maybe I'm a lesbian, maybe I'm trans. I'm just queer, where I don't fit into all your norms to the rest of the world, okay? If you know a person who is queer, and you can ask them, what do you think about the word? I don't know why you want to use the word, but you can, like in generic terms, like queer folk, okay? Queer folk, meaning we're covering the LGBTQ plus community. But I wouldn't use it in a personal way, because it still causes a lot of pain for a lot of people. All right, understand? Any questions about that?
Comment.
Oh.
In Yorkshire, the phrase is, there's not so queer as folk.
Right.
And it's just a word.
It's just a word, right. But a lot of words have been taken to use pretty, yes. Okay. Transitioning, and this is something I would suggest if you want to move forward with this, you talk with somebody who's trans. Okay, I'm not a trans person, but I would suggest you talk with somebody to dive more into this. This is why I call this program the Introduction to. All right. Okay, this is where I'm going to tell you a story. Okay, one of my kids, I've known him since he was a little boy, and because he was born while I was at First Con. Watched this kid grow up, very shy, reserved. He's artistic, not autistic, artistic. I tried to find new ways to get this kid involved. Come on, why don't you join us? Grew up Henry, and then went to school. Well, no, did a gap 2.5 years because he couldn't figure things out. He was an artist, and I invited him back to lead art workshops with the younger kids. And I kept saying to Henry, you should consider teaching because you're so good. His response was, I don't know, I just want to do art. And I said, well, but you still got to pay the bills. You know? And he said, I don't know, I don't want to make art for the man, is what he was saying. And I said, well, what you need is you need a rich patron then. And he went like this.
That's barking up the wrong.
And I said a rich old patron, you know. Anyway, so I'm working with this kid, and then talking with Henry. Henry went from he, him to they, them. All right, and I'm trying to remember their name, and just recently came out as she, her. And name is Amity, A-M-I-T-Y, and picked that name because she went to her mom and said, if I were a girl, what would you have named me? And she took that name, okay? So this kid has been working with me with younger kids through this whole process. And some of the same kids, the artistic kids, know this individual, know Amity, but knew Amity as Henry, and I can't remember their name in the middle, and now as Amity, and we always do, what are my names, what are my pronouns, and the kids don't even blink an eye. It's still the same person, just with a different name, and in a skirt this time. All right? And so I've talked with Amity a lot about questions about this. How would you like to see this represented? Blah, blah, blah. And I said, as I just told you, I wanted to take this into small town churches to help them better understand, but I have to do it in a very generic way so they stay, you know? And I explained, if I brought in a trans person, you know, and Henry Amity, you know that Amity was not born a female, all right? Saying that politely. People will put up walls. I grew up in a small town. And I said, I can pass as a straight guy, I said. And Amity looked at me and said, really, Jeff? All right, so to learn more about this, because I don't have experience with this, but just to give you a background a little bit, 2 areas, and it's much more complex than this, but this is just to help you wrap your head around it. We have social transitioning. That means changing names and clothing. Okay, if I was born a male and I now identify as a female, I may start wearing clothing considered female, like dresses and skirts and things like that. I may change my name. These are all social things. Binding, I'll introduce you to one of my kids who does bind. They've explained that to me, what it is. So those are social transitioning. And then we get to medical transitioning. Every trans person is an individual person. And what the, pardon the politics, what the right tries to say is a kid comes out as trans and they're chopping parts off left and right with 5-year-olds. It doesn't happen. And not all trans people do any medical transitioning. And some do some and not others. And what they do is different for every individual. So I guess what I'm trying to say is greet people as they are as individuals, and let's stop lumping everybody into categories to make it easier and more comfortable for us. So medical transitioning, puberty blockers, we're going to talk about that a little bit. Some surgery, there's top surgery, which refers to breast augmentation, and there's bottom surgery, which refers to genitalia. Some people get top surgery and never even consider bottom surgery. Some never even get top surgery. Depends on who they are and what they're trying to do. All right? So just remembering that. Pronouns is the big thing. Yeah. Keep moving. Okay. What do I say? What do I say? What do I say? I loved your intro. Whoever did that word. Okay. Are they here? Yes. I love that. Okay, because it's a real thing. 3 things. Does it matter what the person's pronoun? Well, determining what a person's pronoun. If the person is walking down the street, across the street, and you can't tell, is that a boy or is that a girl? Does it matter? You're never going to interact with that person again. Just let it go. That's okay. That's a you problem. All right, just let it go, because back to fluidity, it's freaking some people out because they don't fit into the categories, and I don't know what, and I'm now all worked up because I don't know what I'm supposed to call that person I'm never going to meet. It doesn't matter. Let it go. Okay. Use they them. If you're not sure, use they them. If you know the person and you're going to interact with them, you're their colleague, your coworker, a friend, they're on your bowling league, whatever, ask the person. Ask the person. All right? I'm going to share.
What if I don't know?
Okay, back up a little bit. I'm going to share. This is one of my kids. Identifies as non-binary, and they agreed to be recorded for this. I didn't hidden camera them, so they knew exactly what this was. So this is Aster.
What if I don't know what pronoun to use?
It's always safe to go with they, them, especially if you don't know their pronouns. It's confusing how they present. Like, if you have to look at them and think oh, are they a boy or a girl? I can't tell. Use they, them pronouns. It's also nice to just do it in general unless they tell you not to. I know all of my friends who are cisgender. I know the pronouns to use for them because they've told me and they've expressed their cisgender. I know to use she, her, he, him pronouns. Well, some of my other friends, they've expressed to me, I prefer to use these pronouns or these combination of pronouns. So then I use those pronouns. A big thing is if you can't tell someone's gender, use they, them pronouns or ask. The best thing you can do for a trans or non-binary person is ask them their pronouns, because that will make them feel so comfortable. They will feel safe because you acknowledged that you might not you acknowledge that they might not identify with their biological sex.
So it's okay to ask somebody their pronouns?
Yes. And I know personally at school, when teachers ask or say, let's go around the room and say your pronouns, I feel so much more comfortable with that teacher because I know they care enough to know my pronouns and respect them.
Okay, so that's Aster, and I'm just gonna put a little asterisk in there. Let's say you aren't sure and you're working with this person and you ask and they get angry with you. That's that person. Okay, so don't stop asking. Okay, it's where that person is at that point, that time. Okay, go. So what if I get it wrong? This is the big thing, and we make a big deal out of this. What if I get it wrong? Okay, trans people are going through a process. I know when I came out, and I would be angry if people would say you're straight, I'm going, and then I had to realize, Jeff, you've been gay a lot longer than they know you're gay. Okay, you've had a lot more time to deal with this. So if you get it wrong, you use the wrong pronouns, you correct yourself and you move on. Don't make it a deal. Because when you make it a big deal, you're putting the impetus on that person. Okay? So Robin, okay, I saw you, I saw Robin. Robin's here and she overhears me talking to Maggie. Oh, Robin was here. She did a great job for the sermon.
Hey, Jeff, I use they, them pronouns.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Robin. I didn't know that. I'm so sorry, Robin.
Oh,
I'm pushing all the stuff onto Robin.
Why did I even say anything?
Yeah. Okay. Or Maggie, did you see Robin? She did such a great job.
Robin uses they, them pronouns.
Oh, okay. Thanks, and move on. Okay. Thanks and move on. And say thanks instead of I'm sorry. And this takes a while to, mostly just move on. Okay, just thanks, I got the information now, move on. If you say I'm sorry, if I mispronounce, use the wrong pronoun with Robin, and I say, oh Robin, I'm so sorry, you've just thrown it back at her and she has to deal with that now.
Them.
See? Okay? So, I thank you and move on. Don't make it a big deal. If you make it a big deal, it's even bigger for the other person. Just correct yourself, and it's going to happen. It's going to happen. All right? It's going to happen. All right, moving on. Pronoun tip: if you like your cousin comes and says, my son is now identifies as a female. And you know you're going to be visiting them for Christmas or whatever, and just this is a tip, you use that person's name, their new name, and the right pronouns, make a list of like 5 different statements of how you might use that pronoun. I'm just using different names, but use the same person. This person now identifies as Jim, so I want to make sure I use Jim's name with he or his. And you write it down, say it over and over again, just to sort of rewire your brain. And then when you meet Jim at Christmas, you're going to call him her. And what do you do when you call that person her? You say thank you for the correction and move on. All right. This was Aster's quote. All that matters is that they feel comfortable around you. That means you're going to make mistakes. And if they know you're working, trying to figure it out, they will understand. All right, but they is plural. They is plural. All right. Somebody tell me what that is.
Bison.
That's a buffalo. Yeah, it's a buffalo. No, people, that's not a buffalo.
Bison.
This is a buffalo. That's a buffalo. This is not a buffalo. That's a bison. Did you know that? That's not a buffalo. Stop calling it a buffalo. It's not a buffalo. This is a buffalo. This is a This is a bison. This is a bison. Okay? Do we still call this thing a buffalo?
Yes.
You know why? Because over the years, people just kept calling it a buffalo, and we figured, just let it go. So for you English majors, okay, and English teachers, I need you to just let it go. All right? And I say that deeply because kids are killing themselves over this. You gotta learn to let it go. And they can be used in as a plural. All right. What about drag queens? What about drag queens? Where do they fit in this? Because I saw the drag queen thing moving around to different things on some boards. Okay? All right. Drag queens. I'm going back to King Louis. All right. These are pictures of me and my mother's sewing skills.
Oh my gosh.
I love your mother.
Are those wigs?
It's the same wig actually.
Oh.
We do a UNICEF costume party with my Sunday school kids, and I dress up, and it's sort of over the top because the first time we had an uptight minister, and I started on October 1st, and I tried to explain we're going to do a UNICEF costume, invite the kids, and he was not having it, and blah, 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 and he finally agreed. I was still new, and so I tried to find the most outlandish costume as sort of a to him, and these weren't it. Okay. And the kids loved it, the parents loved it, blah blah blah. I did the Scarlett O'Hara one. The organist played da 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 da, and I came in, and everybody over 55 understood what I was doing, and all the gay men understood what I was doing. And I just got blank stares from the rest. And a lot of this. Anyway, but just so you can see some of the other things, these are some of the other costumes my mother's made for me. You know, I don't know how she can get this to work, but she does. All right, anyway, there's a difference between drag queens and cross-dressing. Okay, cross-dressing is just wearing the clothing that normally is assigned to the other sex, the other gender, okay? You will learn that, may be surprised to learn that a lot of cross-dressers are straight men who identify as straight men. They just love the feel of that, how panties and stuff are made, okay? There's a lot of cross-dressers, and you don't know it because they're wearing their clothes underneath their outside clothes. So it's a thing. And however you want to wear your clothing, you know what? You have at it. Because it's you. Drag queen is a whole different thing. It's I've got this. Drag is parody, persona, performance. It's way over the top. And I'm so tired of hearing when on Facebook there's a drag queen or something. I can't believe they would wear that makeup. Who wears that kind of makeup out on the street? I'm thinking, and this is for a performance or who cares? Right. Yeah. All right. So drag queen, that's over the top. It's for parody. They have great names. Okay, great. A friend of mine we're trying to work him into being a drag queen, and his name is Gladys Tidings, and. But it'll be an old lady in Christmas sweaters who plays the piano and talks about her organist husband who's never home because he's always off to Palm Springs. You know. Anyway, let's not get into that. Okay, so over the top. Here. Can you hear this?
No.
How do I do that?
I'll see if I can help. See if this is a volume control. I don't see
Just ask Arliss. She loves doing this stuff. Right, Arliss?
Arliss to the rescue.
Arliss is up there at the... Yeah, well, we never got that.
Thank you, Arliss.
Yeah.
Okay. Kids in school. Oh, sorry. We're gonna go try it again.
Well, kids in school. Still older.
Okay, she's gonna turn it up. This was, what's his name?
Ben de la Creme.
No, the interviewer.
Oh,
Al Franken
Yes.
had tried to introduce a bill and it didn't pass. That's what they're sort of talking about.
Well, kids in school, LGBT kids in school have great absentee. There's all kinds of bullying, obviously, and this would really have helped kids.
No, absolutely.
And
I mean, I can, from my personal experience, I grew up in a small town in Connecticut. I was very, very flamboyant and myself from a very young age, and I was identified by other people as queer before I even understood how to do that myself, and I was mercilessly bullied in school, and I went to my vice principal who told me that I should probably tone it down a little. So, thank you for working on that. It's
terribly frustrating.
And the idea that children are somehow going to be made more queer by access to queer culture. I mean, I was very queer without any access, and when I finally found drag, which is where it was not like, oh, that's a cool job, I want to do that when I grow up. It was, there's a container for who I am. There's something out there for me, and that saved my life. I mean, suicide rates among queer kids and suicidal ideation is more than half of trans and non-binary kids have suicidal ideation, which when I heard that statistic, I was like, that seems low, because every queer person I know has thought about suicide in their youth. And I barely made it out of my childhood, but I did because I had a little bit of access to this glimpse of a world outside that would accept me for who I am, and not just in spite of who I am, but because of who I am.
Okay. So moving on, this whole thing, where are all these trans kids coming from? You know? Where are these gay people coming? Why don't they just go back in the closet? Okay, that whole idea that they're coming from somewhere that, there's something that queer and trans folks, LGBTQ community has been here since human beings have been here. It's just they get beat with rocks and sticks and shot and run over, and so nobody wanted to come out as who they were. And thank God things are changing. So it's sort of like I saw an analogy where in the olden days, maybe you remember this, if you were left-handed, the nun would beat you until you wrote with your right hand, okay? And when the idea and the policy changed and they allow people with left hands who are left-handed to start writing with their left hand, oh my God, where'd all these left-handers come from? Okay, so we've been around forever. In Native American cultures, it's two-spirit people, and there's many different names. In Native Hawaiian and Tahitian cultures, that they have a whole ideas and names and stories for these people. I'm not going to say that in every Native American tribe and nation was open and welcoming. Okay, I'm not going to say that because every tribe and nation is individual and is different. But we've been around forever. We've been around forever. So that's just the history of that. Okay, I asked you a long time ago to write down something about how you identify. And I'm just going to ask for a couple of them. I'm going to ask you to raise your hands and share. Okay, back table, Melissa. Michelle, I'm sorry. Thank you for correcting me. Okay.
I identify as a foodie.
As a foodie, okay, very good. Somebody from this table?
I'm a mom.
A mom, okay. Somebody from over this table?
Go ahead.
Music junkie.
Music junkie, okay, over here?
I'm a fan of musicals.
Fan of musicals. Oh, we should talk.
We should talk.
All right, over here?
Badger fan.
Badger fan, okay, Badger came up. Okay, over here?
Packer fan.
Packer fan, okay, here?
Grandma.
Okay, so these are ways we identify, all right? Ways we identify. Here are some symbols of how we identify, all right? So if you're driving around Texas and you see any of these, do you not get all warm inside? One of us. All right? Everybody has experienced, look, they're from Wisconsin.
We must know them.
Okay, it's about identifying as something. So LGBTQIA, I have a feeling we're going to just quickly go over this. Lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer. I've also heard that as questioning to allow people who they're trying to figure it out. Intersex and asexual and the plus, and it goes on and on. Remember, this is an introduction. Okay. Basically, let's let people identify as who they are, and then we move on to flags and let them help find each other. All right? So back to the Badger flag. Oh, they're Badger fans. All right? You know you're going to walk, you're from Wisconsin, you know you're going to walk over and talk to that person. You know it, right? All right? So, because I know the flags are causing a lot of concern for a lot of people. Oh, those damn rainbow flags. Okay? Then put away your Badger flags and your Packer flags and your KKK flags.
Do you know why? I mean, I've heard that a lot just from my own family. I have a gay daughter and her wife, and we started putting out one of the gay flags, you know, and I hear, what do they have their own flag for? It really ticked them off. And I said, why is that a problem? And they couldn't really tell me. So what's your take on that?
Well, ask them, do what we just did. Are you a Badger fan? Why do you have to have a Badger flag? And you reach a point where you go, hello, wall. For my own sanity and my own sake and my love of my kid, and I don't want to do something to you because you can't shut up about your bigotry, you can say, thank you, but I'm going to walk away now. Okay? I've reached that point in my life. Okay? Because if you realize that you're just banging your head against the wall, you know that old adage, never try to teach a pig how to sing. You're just no. Okay.
I like it.
You never try to teach a pig how to sing. You're just annoying the pig and wasting your time. You know, so I hear what you.
Yeah.
But you know, maybe ask why, and if they can't tell you, then what's the problem? You know, like we have flags for everything. So why can't this group of people identify and use that flag?
And that could apply to a lot of things too, not just the flags. You know, why do they have to use the different names? Like queer is like you call it an umbrella thing, but it's a welcoming thing. It's the queer community, and my girls love that. Right. So if they say why, well, because I don't know, but I like your walk. You know, go to the wall. Because it does get really upsetting.
For your own sanity, that's where I've reached. I'm like,
it's another way to move on.
I don't want to dismiss the struggle, but if you know that they're just arguing with you, you know, they're not at a place where they're going to be able to be open. If they are, you know, I just want to learn why. Well, then you sit down and have a discussion. Introduce them to your daughter and say, this is why she feels this way, because I want her to feel welcome. Do you have... You know, have you ever felt like you were dismissed by somebody where you weren't allowed in? You know, because everybody has been in that situation. So,
that's good, thank you.
But don't kill yourself to bring the other person around.
Yeah, I get something, but I like the wall too.
Okay. All right. One more quick question.
When you know, I was thinking about the LGBTQ and stuff like that, and I was thinking to myself, is when you bring out the fact that they're important, but you take it to the point to where they're too noticed, for lack of a better term. Like I was picked on in school, I had handicaps and stuff, and the thing is I didn't want people to baby me, but the problem is I was noticed because of the fact that I was different, and I think sometimes almost unintentionally, we take that opposite end of, instead of noticing, you know, gay and straight and stuff, you overdo. Like, for example, if a church puts a flag up and someone does, for example, I have a relative that because it's a woman pastor, they won't go to the church, okay? And I think sometimes you can go too far. You can go.
Well, okay, I'm going to take with you, and I'm going to say, I don't think you can go too far, but that goes back to, remember me talking about taking this to a small town?
Right.
And if you're going to scream at somebody, they're not going to listen.
Right.
Okay? But this is, as a historian, I know how different movements, think of the women's movement, finally, I want my own checkbook, I want a credit card, I want, I don't have to have my husband's name, my husband doesn't have to sign for me. And how often were women, and there are women of that age who knew, how often were women shut down? Like, what do you want? What do you want? You just get out of our face. All this crap in our face, get out of our face. It's how movements move, because the movement is always faster or more ahead of culture. And that's how you get attention. And slowly, I'm thinking about just the gay community, and thinking through the 70s and the 80s, and then AIDS came along and screwed everything up on that spectrum. But where the gay community was coming out, the parade started. And wow, they can't do anything, they gotta be themselves. And now most states are recognizing same-sex couples. So there's gotta be that push to aggravate people, okay? And eventually it reaches the point where people who aren't in that group, the people in the power start identifying. Okay, with the women's movement didn't move until men started saying, "Wait, we got to move forward with these women." The same thing happened in the gay community and different ethnicities, and it's. But I understand what you're saying, but it's part of the process. Okay, we got to move on, or we'll be here forever. Okay, sorry. What did the experts say? One of my church members is a psychiatrist. And I won't read all of this, but it basically says this is a real thing. And the medical community establishes this is a real thing. Gender dysphoria is a real thing, and we need to react to this. We need to find treatment for these people, and we need to support them. So, in a nutshell, Dr. Sager said it's a real thing. You can quote me on that. Okay? What does the Bible say? And I'm going to throw this at Mike for you to discuss later. But I do have a couple of verses from Deuteronomy. What does the Bible say? A woman shall not wear a man's apparel, nor shall a man put on a woman's garment, for whoever does such things is abhorrent to the Lord your God, from Deuteronomy chapter 22. So what does the Bible say about cross-dressing? It says it right here. But that's the cool thing about the Bible. It can be used for so many different things, and it's been used as a weapon over and over and over and over and over. So, all right, what does the Bible say? It's pretty clear what it says about that. All right, but thinking of that, do you know who this is? This is Thomas Jefferson, this dandy outfit. Okay? So who's to say what is women's apparel and what is men's apparel? All right? So I don't want to dismiss the Bible. Don't go home and say, Jeff said the Bible's all fake. Right? I gotta keep my job, okay? But in that same chapter in Deuteronomy, the very same chapter in Deuteronomy, if a man meets a virgin who is not engaged and seizes her and lies with her, you know what that's called?
Rape.
Rape, okay? And they are caught in the act, the man, remember this is from the same chapter in Deuteronomy, the man who lay with her shall give 50 shekels of silver to the young woman's father, and she shall become his wife. Okay, so the punishment for raping a virgin girl is 50 shekels, because that's at this time was the going rate of a bride. A clean bride, if you will, a virgin bride. So the father could get 50 shekels if his daughter was pure and virgin. So I'm going to connect you with him, and he's going to give me 50 shekels, the bride's price, prime price. Well, if she's raped, she's no longer a virgin, and she's tainted goods, and the father can't get $50 for her anymore. So this is the going rate of a clean bride. And so if you rape somebody, a virgin, you have to give her father 50 shekels, and then she becomes your wife. And the ultimate punishment for the man is you, through your whole life, you cannot divorce her.
Seems fair.
All right?
That's only if they're caught.
It's only if they're caught, right? Okay, so for those who hold the Bible and start spewing stuff, you know, we can play Bible battleship all day, back and forth, okay? So I've tended to move, and again, you have to talk with Mike. He went to seminary. I'm just a lowly bachelor's degree. Here are some terms in Jewish writings, all different versions of diversity in gender. Okay, I'm going to send this to Mike. He can share that with you all. Okay, and what would Jesus do? Well, I'm going to let Mike talk about that as well. But for me, when I think of what would Jesus do, what would Jesus say, the two things that come to mind are Samaritans and stones. If you remember, the Samaritans were the people who were ostracized by the Jewish community, from low to high in the Jewish community, because they worshipped a different way, they identified a different way, they saw the world in a different way. So I will not be around them. They are not worthy of my footprints. I will not even journey through their land. I will not accept food from them because they are tarnished. And think how often Jesus used Samaritans in his stories to try to reinforce that even a dirty Samaritan is worthy of your love. And then the other part is the stones, and with the adulterous woman. Okay, those of you who have never sinned, who if you're going to judge, that's fine, but make sure your slate is clean before you start judging others. So that's what I'm going to use on that. Just moving on, and again, Mike will, I'm sure, talk to him. Becoming an ally, we're going to go back to Aster.
The best thing you can do is, if you know someone's pronouns, you can respect them. If you know someone who is transitioning or has transitioned, respect them, help them, show that you support and love them and care about them, because that is everything for them, especially with how things are going right now with all the hate towards trans people. Showing that you support them, love them, and care about them will mean everything to them. So just generally respect pronouns the best you can, because that will make people feel very validated. And just show that you are someone that they can talk to and someone that cares about them. Because that's gonna be the best thing for them.
Okay, how do you want your church to be seen? Did a little scoping through your website. Walked around your church building a little bit this morning. Okay, and if I were a member of the LGBTQ community, if this is your focus for this, I'm assuming, how would I perceive your church? Okay, I'm not going to tell you what I found, but I will tell you I did a little digging through your website, and these are the two sites I found, and there may be more. I am a techno-Luddite. But I saw some welcome, the word welcome a lot. Saw the word welcome a lot, and please don't take this as a critique of your website. But I see the word welcome, hospitality, but does that mean me as a gay man? Okay, and because there are a lot of churches that say we welcome everybody, and then I sat through a sermon and I realized, oh, you don't mean me. Okay.
The colors are on the sign out here.
Okay.
So doesn't that mean?
I didn't see the colors, so I'll look more.
I think that's what that is. I saw it when I came in today.
Okay.
On the electronic scroll.
Oh, okay.
So that welcomes everybody regardless.
Right.
Right?
Well, I didn't see the colors.
Well, you look when you go
Oh,
out.
okay.
And then you come back and you go.
Well, because this is my first time here, and I thought, how does Mike get all these cool, new churches? That's what I was thinking. But I was driving down the road, and I was having to cross over, so I had to watch for traffic as I'm trying to get across. So I'm not, it may be there.
But you look when you go.
I know. But you gotta tell me that. Okay, so please don't think I'm pointing fingers. Okay, so, and I know you are welcoming because I'm standing, you've got a big gay guy standing in front of you. Okay, so I understand that. But if I have to, I know, and please don't take this as a hit against you. Okay, but you have to make sure that what I'm trying to say is, where does it say I'm welcome? Okay.
Right there.
Okay. Yes. I'm gonna let you guys discuss that. Okay. Remember back to the flags, and as you said, the colors. Okay. So, and every church is working this out. Every church. Who do you want to welcome? We have a banner at First Con. You know, the building has been there since 1930. Okay? And we have this god-awful banner that says embracing God's children and God's family or something. It was designed back in this late 70s, and I hate it because it's so LGBTQ-centric. Okay, and it uses the triangles, the pink and the purple triangle, which are Holocaust references. Okay, and I had a mother a kid on the spectrum who said to me, you know, I support that. I love my gay friends, and she said, but where's my sign? Yeah. And I've been fighting to get rid of that banner ever since, and have a more inclusive banner, and try to welcome everybody on a banner. Okay. Well, you put the colors around your side. That's how you do it, right? Okay. You know, I'm kidding with you. Okay. But I hear you what you're saying. I hear what you're saying. But everything is how things are perceived. Yeah. Okay. It's how they're perceived. All right. I'm going to finish today, and I want to talk a little bit. My friend Mary, and this is just me sharing a real story. My friend Mary. It's about grace. My friend Mary, I've known for several decades. She grew up in Kiel, a little town called Kiel, and she never moved out of the house. She grew up in this house, and then she's a single woman, and she took care of her mom, and then her mom passed away and gave her the house. So she was on the west side of Kiel, next to Lake, the big cheese factory, okay? And so she just lived in that house her whole life in Kiel. And then when the cheese factory wanted to expand, they talked to Mary and said, can you go move somewhere else because we want to put a parking lot where your house is. So Mary thought, you know, I'm going to do that. And she moved to the other side of Kiel. Okay? Ironically, the person who bought her house had the house moved, and it followed Mary to within a block of where she lived. Okay? So Mary lived her entire life within the borders of Kiel, so within like 2.5 miles. She lived her whole life. And I love Mary. And she knows she's a small town girl, you know, blah, blah, blah. Well, she called me one day because she knew my experience with Owl, and she said, something's wrong with my niece Grace. We don't know what's wrong. They had to put her in residential care because they realized she was trying to kill herself. Okay? And they noticed she wasn't coming out for family things at about 11, 12. She wasn't coming out for family things. She didn't want to do anything with anybody. If she did came out, she grabbed some food, went back into her room and slammed the door. And then they realized she was anorexic, and they couldn't figure out, and she refused to eat. She just refused to eat, and they didn't know what was happening. So she went into residential care, and through therapy discovered, and I have permission to share all this, because this is a real story. Through therapy discovered that Grace is trans. Grace is trans. And slowly she was able to figure things out with her mother. Her father, they were divorced. Father would not hear anything, but Grace was living with her mother at the time and was starting to figure things out. And Mary called me. I don't know what this is. I don't understand this. I don't understand this. And Mary and I had a lot of conversations. Lots and lots and lots of conversations. Mary still doesn't understand it, okay? So I'm trying to get you to be Mary, even if you don't understand something. But Grace went through a process, figured out who they were, and Grace is now Grayson. All right? And I had the pleasure of interviewing Grayson. I called him up and I said, could I ask you some questions? And you can say no to any question I ask. I was expecting, because Grayson was 17, 18 at the time, I was expecting a 10-minute conversation, and we talked over an hour, because Grayson wanted to share. And I said, this is what I'm doing with this information. Yes, want to share. And I asked Grayson, what was happening when you were 10, 12? And why did you stop eating? And I was thinking because Grace's breasts were starting to form, starting puberty and trying to stop that. And Grayson said, yeah, I guess that I was trying to stop my period. And I thought, breasts are one thing, but when you start menstruating, there is no doubt what your body is. And I just felt so for Grayson, struggling to try to stop the flow of puberty and life. So Grayson went through the process, is now in college, and this is a picture of them. Grayson identifies as he, at a counselor at a summer camp. These are not my kids, that's why I put the bars, but I want you to see the smiles on the kids' faces, okay? And Grayson just chatters away as a male. I asked for some pictures. Grayson sent me pictures from his hospital bed when he had top surgery. And then, I don't think people are ready to see that. And his mom sent this picture. But Grayson is now figuring things out. Is everything rosy for Grayson? No. But Grayson is in a place now where he can move forward. And back to Mary. Mary still isn't figuring things out, and that's okay. But Mary loves Grayson. So I guess what I'm saying to you is, be like Mary, all right? One of the questions I asked Grayson, I said, if you were not allowed to transition, I should say, top surgery, and I have an interview from Grayson's mother. I'm gonna pass that out so you can read that, because she didn't want to talk. But Grayson said, I said, so you had top surgery? Yes. What about bottoms? I don't know. Maybe not. And I said, so how did you feel after the top surgery? And Grayson actually said, well, I wasn't very big, so I didn't really need the surgery, but I needed the surgery. And did it between 17 and 18, which required a lot of paperwork from his mother, and years and years and years of therapy, and work with their general practitioner, their endocrinologist, therapist. And so that whole idea of a 5-year-old, I'm a boy or I'm a girl, and they lopping parts off is nonsense. It's just nonsense. Grayson actually said, well, it's not like I can just, like getting a tattoo, I can just walk in and it happens. So Grayson, when I asked Grayson, if you were not allowed to transition, where would you be? And Grayson's answer was, if I were here, it wouldn't be by choice. Okay? So that's what I want you to think about, where Grayson was and where Grayson is now, and where Mary is on the process, and where do you fit? So, I know we've gone past time, so if you have any questions, I'm here, but if you gotta get up and leave, please don't feel bad. Okay, any questions? You've been a great crowd, by the way, great crowd.
I was wondering, why don't we just use neutral pronouns for everyone?
Imagine being in that place, right?
I mean, medically, I know they would have to know if you were male or female, but I mean, for the rest of society, why can't we just all be neutral?
Right. I agree. On my Sunday school registration forms for parents to fill, I ask for pronouns and not gender. So I know where the kid is at. I don't care. It's a little different when they become youth and you have to house them in rooms and stuff like that, but you work toward that. Okay?
talking about that, there's a series of books, and this is the third one of the series. The first one's called Ancillary Justice, and it's by Ann Leckie. And it's interesting because it takes place in the far future where everyone uses she, her.
Oh.
I still don't, I'm on the third book, I still don't know if the main character has a penis or not. It hasn't come up.
Well, men are slowly becoming obsolete.
Yeah. That's not even the point of the story. It's like it's a mystery kind of.
Sounds like somebody has a book for a book discussion.
Yeah.
Okay. Other questions? Otherwise, thank you so much. And
Could you come back and do the advanced version for us if we asked you to at some point?
I will send you to the training to get a couple of your people trained so you could do the facilitating. I don't know what are you certified in?
So I'm currently certified for K through 6. So if we wanted to teach our little kids, we could do that. If we wanted to teach our slightly older kids, we could do that. But in order to teach above that, you have to go through either a middle school, high school training, or the adult/older adult training.
It's there.
And the other thing is you need another facilitator. So being alone does you no good. You need at least one other person that has gone through a specific training process to be able to make sure that you can talk about these in a sensitive way.
Sure. Right.
You don't want just anybody doing this.
Your facilitator, the people who train you have to sign off, because I know there are people who weren't signed off. They're not ready to do that. So they have to be very careful about that. And I'm trained for the junior high school. And so, that's where you spell everything out. And I want to just share one quick story. 7th and 8th grade, and at the end of every session in this level, every kid has to ask a question, or they have to write something on a card and it goes into a question box. So if they do have questions and they're afraid to ask, but everybody has to write something on the card, even if it's, I have no questions. I had kids, I want to talk with you about your car warranty. Okay, I know, I had a real smart group. Anyway, but I had one and I knew who it was. It was a seventh grade boy, and I knew by the penmanship. I had seen that before. But we had covered lovemaking, and we go through all the intercourses. Okay, I couldn't share this before. We go through all the intercourses, and it's spelled out. So the kid, so what they see in porn videos, they understand is not real, and it talks about consent and all those things. And the question was from a 7th grade boy, is penile vaginal intercourse pleasurable for the woman? And I thought, holy crap. If this kid is straight, this is going to be one heck of a lover. Okay? I mean, how many 7th grade boys, straight boys, even care? Okay? So those are the things that we talk about in our class. So it's,
and for the younger kids, a lot of it is nobody should be touching your body that is not doing it for medical reasons or as part of your family helping you take care of yourself. So it's a way for children to know that if somebody's doing something that they shouldn't be, that you can speak out, that's not okay, that bodily agency.
Mm-hmm.
And that is something that can help to prevent abuse. It can help to, make sure that kids are aware of what things are supposed to be. And it really also, another part of this whole program is helping to empower parents to have good information too. So all of the classes are accompanied with parental resources so that if you want to extend these conversations, your kids have questions at home, parents are the primary sexual educators of their kids.
Yep.
And we don't always get good sex ed ourselves, so.
My mom said it was a miracle. And going on what Robin was saying, one of the latest updates to the K2 class, they were stressing in the past, no, you can say no, you can say no. You have a right to say no. But what they were finding is as people who were abuse victims are now feeling guilt because they didn't say no. So they're making adjustments in the curriculum all the time. So, okay, yes?
I've seen people with pronouns say she, they, or she, them, or something like that.
Yes.
Can you say, I'm confused.
I'm going to invite you to bring in somebody who's trans to discuss that. Because I'm going to tell you, and I have kids who use she, they, and it still eludes me a little bit. Okay, so I'm not dismissing your question, saying it's not a real question. I'm going to encourage you to find somebody who could speak more personally on that. Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Have a great time. Thank you. And I'll look for the colors on your sign.
You too.